room tonight. So we have some attendees here in the library as well as some who are joining online. That's going to make our setup a little bit different tonight. So just a few ground rules to get us started. Anyone who's joining us online, your video is going to be blocked and you will be muted from speaking. However, you do have access to the chat and Q&A features. You are able to ask questions that way. Please feel free to chime in with questions as you have them, and we'll make sure that they get shared in the room. For those of us who are joining in the room tonight, I'm just going to ask that you raise your hand if you have a question. That way I can acknowledge you and make sure that everyone online can hear those questions as well. So for anyone online, at the very top of your Zoom window, you should see a nice exit full screen button. If you need to get out of Zoom tonight, that will let you pop out of the Zoom and get to other things on your computer, including Google, if you're following along with us. A recording of today's program is also going to be available within a couple of days. So if you just want to watch along with us and go back and watch that recording later and practice, that is an option for you as well. So one final note as we get started tonight, I just need to remind you, I am a librarian. I am not a business or career expert. So my job tonight is to help connect you with some resources and tools that may be helpful in your job search. I hope that you leave with something that really sets you on the right track and gets you started. And I will do everything that I can to help, but I am limited in that role. So with that in mind, I think we're ready to get started. To give you an idea of who we have with us tonight, my name is Jamie. I am a librarian here at the Harrington Library, and I also have Eric, who's with me providing support on chat and questions here in the room as well. All right, now that we have all of the boring ground rules out of the way, let's get into the actual goals of our program. So the goal for the class tonight is to look at using Google tools as part of your job search. We're going to look at some of the things that are available for free with that Google account, and we're going to look at different ways that you can apply that specifically to job searching. Tonight, we're going to look at the navigation and use of Google Drive for file storage, collecting resumes, keeping documents related to your job search. And we're also going to spend some time talking about the other productivity tools that are available with Google. We will get into some of the more specific tools, such as Gmail, Google Docs, and Google Sheets as later classes as part of this series. So if you have questions about those tonight, I will try and answer them, but we won't go into a ton of depth on those tonight. All right. So let's pop on out of this lovely virtual program. Welcome. And over to our Google sign-in. So as we go through this class series, we're going to be following the job search journey of an imaginary person, because we thought it would be more fun to have somebody to do this alongside. So we created a persona. Her name is Sarah Rockefeller, and she has dedicated her career to mastering specific skills tailored to the employer that she was working for. In the technology sector over the last 3 decades, she was indispensable to her job, but like sometimes happens, she's unfortunately been laid off. And now she's looking for ways. Yes.
I'm not seeing the chat.
Okay.
I see the attendees. Should I promote them to panelists?
No, you need to go under the chat and enable chat for all attendees.
Oh.
Should be in the settings for the chat. So she has a lot of specific skills related to the job that she's been doing, but not necessarily skills that jump out for other jobs. Sometimes when you've been in the workforce for a while and you've been doing the same thing, you've learned how to use the software specific to the company that you're working at, but you don't necessarily know the ins and outs of those products that you're not using. So that's kind of where Sarah is in her job search journey. However, she really wants to use this as an opportunity to find out what transferable skills she has and see about boosting those skills and getting back into the job market. And she's going to transition in her career to a slightly different way that really benefits her interests. So what we're doing with Sarah tonight is setting up her Google Workspace to set up those job search files. She's also going to use Gmail to establish a professional job search email. She does have an existing Google account, so we're not going to spend a ton of time talking about how to set up a Google account, but she hasn't really spent the time looking into those features. And so tonight together, we're going to look at how to use those products for resume building, communication, scheduling, and things like that. So what is Google Workspace? It is a wonderful collection of freely available tools that you can use. It is completely cloud-based, so everything is hosted online for you. You can get to it from any internet-enabled device. Most of the products and services are available for free, although there are some features that require an additional fee or subscription. Just to keep things simple, we're only going to look at free stuff. We're just going to look at the things you can get to completely free. So that's going to include things like Gmail to send and receive emails, your Google Drive for storing and accessing files across devices, Google Docs, which is the Google equivalent of Microsoft Word. If you need to create files, documents, you can also use it to transition things to PDF. Google Sheets that we use to create spreadsheets, Google Slides, which would be the equivalent of PowerPoint if you needed to do a presentation. And then there are also additional tools like Google Forms for surveys or Google Sites used to host websites. They kind of go beyond the scope of job searching, but they are tools that are available to you. So, Google Drive specifically is where we're going to start tonight. And that is a file storage and synchronization service developed by Google. It's going to let you store your files in the cloud, access those files across devices, and also share files with other users. You can organize those files in your Drive securely and then access them from any mobile device, tablet, computer here at the library, a computer that you have at home, anything that's connected to the internet. So Sarah will be using her Google Drive to create and share her resumes, cover letters, and other documents related to her job search. As you start getting further into the job search, you may find that you have multiple copies of your resume because you're tailoring that resume to the job that you're applying for. You might have several different cover letters. You might have different files that you've collected based on what one employer has asked for when you put in that application. So this is a great way to organize things into one place. So we're going to start by just looking at what Google Drive looks at in general. When you go to the Google Drive homepage, it should look something like this. If you didn't have an account, this would be the place where you would also sign in for an account. But since Sarah has one, we're going to let her sign in if the computer keeps up with me. And this is what Google Drive looks like when you first sign into it. Now, depending on how you have your settings, you might have it pop onto the home screen, or it might pop onto the My Drive screen. Either way, it's going to look like a list of files and resources that we can navigate. So on the home screen, you've got a couple of different sections. In the top left corner, we've got the New button. The New button is exactly what it sounds like. It's where we go to make new folders, new files, or to upload existing resources that we have on our computer onto our Google Drive as well. And then we also have the left navigation bar, which has our search field right here. We can search for files that we have in Drive. The more files that you get, the harder it can be to find what you're looking for. So this is a great way to search for files and locate them. And then we also have the file and folder list here in the center. You'll be able to see right now it's listed by files. If I had folders, I could switch over to a folder view and access all of the folders that I had as well. And then on the far right side, we're going to have our layout button, the view details button, and the right sidebar. And we're going to look at each of these in a little bit more detail. So going back to the New button, when I click on that, that's when we get to all of our new options. I can choose to create a new folder to organize things. I can choose to upload a file or a complete folder. If I have a folder related to my job search, I can pull all of that at once. Or I can create new things from the Google suite of tasks. So I've got docs, sheets, slides, etc. and I can go under more and see additional options as well. You will see, and we will get into this more when we get into docs and sheets. Once you choose one of those and go over, you will have the option of both blank documents and templates that you can access from your Google Drive as well. Now, if you are using Google Docs or Google Sheets, you can go directly to the website for those products as well and create new files that way. But this is another way that you can go and create just in one spot. As we are searching our files and folders, we have 3 different options to do that. So I can click on this search box, start typing and say, I'm looking for a resume, and hit enter. It's going to pull up everything that matches that file name for me. If I close that search and go back, if I start typing, it's also going to give me some recommendations, and I can see some recommended files. I can just select one of those from the list as I'm searching. Or if I'm having a really hard time finding what I'm needing, I can do an advanced search by clicking on advanced search, and this gives me some extra options to find what I'm looking for. So I can say I'm looking specifically for a PDF, or I'm looking for a photo. I'm looking for a spreadsheet with these words in the file or with words in the file name. All of that can help you locate the specific folder or file that you're looking for. Once you've put in all of that information, and it doesn't have to be everything on this screen, you can choose just the bits that are helpful or that you remember. Once you put in all of that, you would hit search, and that would pull up a list of files as well. We'll close back out of that search, go back to our homepage. So our files and folder list will let us see all of our files and folders. And as you start getting more things in, you may notice that Google shows you the option to show more files. When I click on that, it'll expand that so that I see everything that I have going. And whether or not I'm looking at files or folders will be determined based on that view. Whichever one is checked, files or checked folders, that's how it's going to look. So which one you choose, really just personal preference. Yes, sir.
I do have a question from Karen. What is the best practice to name your files for quick retrieval?
Quick retrieval on naming your files. I would recommend, if it's something that is time sensitive, put a date on it, especially when you're job searching. If you've updated your resume, make sure you have a month and date on there. So you might say 01/2024 resume to say that is my January resume. As you're doing job searches, I would also say if you're customizing to a particular company, add that into the file name as well. So it might be 01/2024 resume libraries. And that tells me that's my January resume that I'm sending out to libraries. But if I had a second resume that I was sending out to schools, I might say 01/2024 resume schools to be able to differentiate those two things. Really, your file name is about making sure you have the information that you need to be able to find it. And if it's something that you're sending to another person, like a resume, making sure that you have a version that just has a professional file name to it, like your first initial, last name resume, so that it submits with that file name attached. All right. We also have options to change the view and access the settings to filter that view. As you'll see, I can do a grid view. I can do a list view. It doesn't look very nice when I have it in folders, but this view here gives me a preview of what the actual file is. So if you're a visual person and the file name doesn't do it for you, doing that grid view lets you take a peek and say, oh, that's a resume. That is a picture. That is a spreadsheet. That's more in line with what I'm looking at. It's really just a matter of preference for how you're organizing your folders. You can also use the different menus up at the top to narrow down what you're looking at. I can say specifically, I only want to see documents right now. I only want to see documents modified today. Oops, I don't have anything that I've worked on today. I can close out that filter and say, okay, I want something from the last 30 days. This shows me the most recent document that I've edited. The other option that you have to really quickly find things that you want is to add them to your starred files. And this is a very simple way of marking your folder or file as a favorite thing. As you can see, the top resume that I have listed here has a little star next to it. That tells me that I have saved it to my starred files. To do that, all I'm going to do is right click and it should give me the option to add to starred. It is feeling a little bit cranky today. So we're going to look for it under organize, and then we'll see that add to starred. So just to reiterate what we did there, right click, go under organize, add to starred. That adds that star onto that file so I can easily find it. And what that does is over here on the left-hand side, when I click on starred, I can get to just those files or folders that I've marked as favorites. If I have decided I no longer need an item to be in my starred, just reverse the process, right click, organize, remove from starred. It'll take it back out of that list again. But that's a really quick way to mark things that you're using often so that you can get back to them. You also have the option to color code things, especially with your folders. So here I have just the one folder. I'm going to go ahead and just add a new folder in just for fun. Do a new folder. And I'm just going to make a cover letters folder here. So now I've got two different folders, and maybe I want to organize them so they stand out a little bit differently by making my resumes a different color. And I have that option. And when I right click on the folder, go under organize, got folder color. So I can say, oh, I want this folder to be yellow, or just kidding, I want this folder to be blue. I can change the color on it just to visually organize, and that can be helpful if you like organizing things by colors to say, you know, everything technology related is going in a purple folder. All cover letters are going in a green folder. That's just another option that you have to organize information. You can also just leave it as the default gray. No problems there if you decide that you don't like the color on it. Really simple to just go back over and choose a different color and put it back to the gray that it was, just like it was before. All right, so the other thing that we have here on the side is this navigation menu, and we've kind of popped between the home and the My Drive option, but we have some other options in here as well. So anything that's listed under My Drive, those are the things that you created or uploaded. Your files, your folders, your uploads, your documents, all of your stuff lives there. If you happened to have shared drives, they would show up underneath your drive as a shared drive. And you'll see this if you happen to be part of an organization that's sharing files. They can share an entire drive with you that you have access to share those files together, but they don't belong to you, if that makes sense. Within that My Drive, you've got the little arrow right next to it that will let you expand that file menu to be able to see what's inside. It'll just do folders, so it's not going to show you a list of all the files you have, but you can see the different folders that you have there and get to that quickly. If you have synced with your computer, which is going to go beyond what we're talking about tonight, you can find that information under computers to be able to sync your files in that way. And then you'll also have access to your shared files. And these are things that other users have shared with you. So if I were to send you a file right now and you had access to it, instead of showing up in your drive, it would show up under the shared with me so that you could easily locate something that didn't belong to you. Your recent is going to show you the things that you have been in most recently, just kind of like a history of what I've been doing in Google lately. I can see, okay, this is where I was, this is what I've been in, and I can get back to it. And like we talked about earlier, our starred files get us back to the things that we've marked as our favorites. We also have our trash. So, good news, bad news about your trash. Good news, you can put stuff into the trash. If you didn't mean to put it there, you can get it back out again. You can restore it. Bad news, you only have 30 days to do that. So if you accidentally delete a file at the beginning of the month and you don't think about it until 2 months later, that file is gone and we cannot get it back. So do be mindful of things that you put into the trash and make sure that you actually want them to go into the trash. And then finally, you've got your storage, which is going to just give you an idea of how much storage you've used. You've got 15 gigabytes of storage available for free, which is more than enough for most people. If you find out that you want more storage, you can purchase additional storage from Google to be able to expand that, or you can go in and start cleaning out different files that you no longer need, because this little bar is going to show you, okay, this is what Google Drive is taking up with files. This is photos. This is email, so that I can start cleaning up where I have the most if I find that I'm running out of space. Go back to our drive. The other thing we have over here is our little mini taskbar over here on the side that gives you access to some other Google tools. You can get to your calendar, you can get to keep your tasks list and your contacts through that as well. Those are things that we're going to get into more when we get into deadlines and tasks with calendar next week. Any questions on Google Drive? Awesome. All right. So we've got a Google Drive. We're able to create and store our files. The next thing we need to look at is our email. Now, we've got a couple of different ways that we can do that from where we are right now. Why use Gmail? It's free, it's easy, and it's widely accepted. So Gmail has been offered for free by Google since 2004, and it is currently the largest and most popular email service in the world, available in over 100 languages. So it's really easy to communicate back and forth, and it's a very simple to navigate email option for you. If you are in your Google Drive, you can get to your Gmail by just clicking on the little 9-dot grid in the top corner, clicking on Gmail, and that will take you right over to your Gmail page. You can also get there by just typing in gmail.com into your address bar, and that'll pull up the Gmail page as well. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like, I'm going to sign out of everything. Okay. Say I went to gmail.com. I could see if I had recently used accounts, or if I didn't have an account, this is also where I could create an account as well. So if I went to sign in, didn't have one, click on create account for myself, my child, manage my business. And then you'd be able to walk through that setup wizard. So it's going to ask you for your name, your date of birth. It's going to ask you for a Gmail address. So just for fun, I'm going to go partially through this to show you what it looks like. And we'll just put in a random day. And Gmail will actually give you some suggestions. When you go to set up that Gmail for the first time, you can choose one of those, or you can choose create your own, and it will tell you if that Gmail is available for you to use or not. Once you've done all of that, it's going to ask you to put in a password. And then once it has accepted your password, your Gmail account will exist and you are ready to sign in. So we'll go back to Sarah's account here. And this will take us back to our Gmail homepage. So we're going to spend some time looking at the different options that we have in Gmail. So on the left-hand side, we have our options to compose emails, access folders, and view my labels. If you want to send an email, beautiful blue compose button will pop up that compose message window. We'll come back to composing in a little bit, so we'll close that for now. The folder list will let you access different folders that you have. Right now, we've got our primary, our promotions, and our social. So those are the things that make up our inbox. We also have access to our starred. So just like we could star a file and come back to it, you can do the same thing with your email. So if it's an email you want to follow up on, oh, here's a resume I need to send. Here's an interview request I need to schedule. You can put those in your starred and come back to your starred messages to get to them quickly. You also have your sent mail, so messages that you've sent to other people, drafts, or the messages that you have in progress. And just like everything else, if we expand this, we have some more options to be able to see labels that we have, our spam and our trash, if we needed to get to that as well. But we're going to go back to our inbox here. And in the center is where we're going to do all of the work of looking at and organizing our emails. You can search your mail, same way that we search Google Drive. You can put in a keyword, you can put in a sender's name, you can put in a date. So let's say, oh, I'm looking for something about a concierge. I can put whether or not that email has an attachment. If I'm looking for something that someone sent me, I can apply that filter. I can put if it was sent in the last 7 days, things like that. That will let me search my email quickly and find different messages. And then I have my mail preview down here. So when I look at it right now, it's just giving me an idea of who it came from and that subject line. Once I click on it, it will open up the message itself. I can see all of the information, read through that email, and have access to options like printing it or replying to it. Go back to my inbox like that. You'll also notice as you read through things in your inbox, they will unbold to show that you've read them so that you can see read versus unread messages. So your inbox is automatically going to be set up into primary, which is going to be most of the emails that you receive. You will also have access to your promotions. So these will be things that are filtered out related to business, sales, promotional things. So trying to get some of the clutter out of that inbox. It'll move it into that promotions tab. And you'll also have access to your social tab, which is where notifications from like social media are going to drop. Again, just to clean some stuff out of your inbox, it'll drop it over in that folder for you. But most of the time you're going to be over in your primary folder. Up here at the top, we have some additional options. We can use that question mark icon if we needed to access Google Help. We can get help training and updates that way. We can get to our Google account settings through that gear icon, including things like what our inbox looks like, if we have a nice theme on it, how we want to organize things, if we want to have multiple inboxes, things like that. That little 9-dot grid gets us back to the rest of the Google apps. So we can go back to our Drive. We can pop over to our calendar, things like that. And then I'll do that. Right here where we see the little S, that gets us to our Google account and to sign out of Google. Now, if you have set up your profile, instead of seeing the letter, you may see a little picture of yourself or whatever icon that you have put in that will show up there as well. But that is where you would sign out when you are done with your email. And then just like we saw on Google Drive, calendar keep tasks and contacts show up on the side so that we can easily get back to those features and be able to use them. All right. With all of that in mind, some of the nitty-gritty of composing and sending emails. So first thing we're going to do is click on that compose button, which will pop up a nice, useful email window. Now, if this is too small for you or you find it distracting to have just a little window, you can use that little two-sided arrow to go full screen and be able to have a larger window to compose your email in. It's going to bring up your message window. You can also scrunch that down again if you need to, or if you don't want to send an email at that moment, just close, use that X to save and close. Very top box we're going to get is our to. Who are we sending the email to? So we're going to put whoever we're sending the email to in that box. And then we can put in our subject. So brief description of why you're sending this email. For example, if you were applying for a job, you might have your name and the job title that you were applying for. Or if someone had asked you to send a resume, you might have your name and resume so they know what they're getting. Underneath that, you've got your window to compose your message. Type out anything that you need to say, being sure to use any kind of professional email etiquette that you might need to for the message that you're sending. And down here at the bottom, you'll have access to a full toolbar to be able to change your font, bold, italicize, add a numbered list, bullet points, things like that, just to clean up the text as you are writing. Now, if you needed to attach files or add additional resources, that's the toolbar under the toolbar. So this top one here, that's kind of inside the message, is doing everything related to the text of the message. And this one underneath is doing properties of the message itself. So we have access to attach files with the lovely little paperclip icon. We can insert a link with that hyperlink icon. We can use Google Drive to attach files that way. But that gives us extra message options before we ultimately hit that blue button to send the message. You will also notice if you click on the arrow, you have an extra option of schedule send. So if you know that you're going to be on vacation and you want to send a follow-up to go out the day before you come back from vacation, you can tell this when you'd like to send the email. It'll hang out in your drafts and automatically send at that time. So that can be a useful way to schedule responses, or if you're not quite sure if you'll remember to send a follow-up email, you can draft the follow-up email the day that you think about it, schedule it to send a week after the interview. So that's already done off your plate. It's a really useful feature that you have access to that way as well. Yes, ma'am.
So, is it better to create a Gmail account just for the job search, because the other account will be already so cluttered, right? So would it be advisable to have it just for the job search?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and repeat the question just so everyone online can hear. The question that we had was if it's advisable to create a separate email just for your job search. I will say it is personal preference, but a lot of people do find that helpful because then it's one spot for everything job related and nothing else. It does clean it up, keep it easy to say, this is where I look at jobs, this is where I push resumes, this is what that is, and you don't have to worry about keeping your business life and your personal life separate. So it is a very useful option to have.
And about the picture, it should be a professional looking picture, right?
Yes. So the question was, if you choose to use a picture, should it be a professional looking picture? Absolutely. Look for a nice headshot that has just you as a professional, well lighted, looks like you currently. Don't pull out the picture from 20 years ago and throw that on there. I mean, it's a very small thing, but if you do have a headshot, this is a great way to start adding it in. It can show up on your Google. It'll pop up as a little Google preview. You can use that same headshot on your LinkedIn or anywhere else that you need an image, and that's just another part of building your brand.
And when you send something, is there any particular time of the day when you have to send your resume or cover letter to have that top of the mind recall thing? with the employers?
So is there a time to send your resume and cover letter to be top of mind with employers? I don't really have a good answer for that. A lot of that is going to depend on the company and the company culture. So some companies have, okay, first thing in the morning, we're going to go through email and do that. I have my email up throughout the day. So if you were emailing me personally, there wouldn't really be much of a difference if you sent it to me in the morning versus sending it to me in the afternoon, because I do have access throughout the day. So I would say, in general, avoid that late night email going, oh, it's 10 o'clock at night, let me go ahead and send my resume. I would stick to business hours and the time that you know that people are doing business, but whether you do morning or afternoon, that I would say is personal preference based on what's working for you and your job search. Yes.
I have another question from chat. How do you create a signature? I feel like you might be going over this, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yes. So the question of how we create a signature, we will be going over that a little bit later. We are actually about to get right into that. So let me close out of the new message here, and we will dive right into doing a signature. So a signature, for those of you who don't know, is just that standard block of text at the bottom that has things like your name, your phone number, your email address that go in automatically. So rather than having to type my name at the bottom of every email, I have that nice little block of text ready to go, and it goes on every email that I send. So to do that, we are going to click on this settings icon. And we're going to choose See All Settings. And you're going to see a ton of options here on this screen. And we're going to start scrolling. You're going to see options for things like spelling and grammar. We're going to keep scrolling. You've got your option to get into your picture there. And when we finally get towards the bottom of this list, you're going to see the option for signature. And this is where you can create a signature. So right now I have one on there, but I'm going to go through the process of creating a new. So you'll just hit create new. First thing it's going to ask you to do is name that signature. So I'm just going to call this class signature just to keep that straight in my mind. It doesn't really matter what you name your signature because that's something only you're going to see. It helps you keep it separate if you had multiple signatures for some reason that you were using. If you had one that you used for business and one that you used for personal, if you were, say, doing everything out of one inbox, but nobody else is going to see what you call your signature. You'll hit create, and then we've got this nice little box to be able to type in our signature. Just like the email, we've got options at the bottom to be able to customize our font. So I can look at this and say, ooh, that's a little bit small. I want to do something a little different. I've got small, normal, large. I can go huge if I want to on my signature. It's just the visual things that you're doing that make it look the way you want your signature to look. I'm going to pop back over to the one that we have. As you'll see here on this one, we did Sarah's name, a different color, a different font, and a little bit bigger so that her name stood out. It's also got her title, her phone number, and her email under there, as well as her LinkedIn profile. But you can do all the editing that you need to. You have the option to put in links. You have the option to include an image if you wanted to as part of your signature. You might notice with a lot of companies, like the company logo will be part of the signature. If you were to email somebody from the library, you'll see that City of Plano logo on our emails as they're coming back. So that is an option that you can put in, especially if you have like your own company, you can put that as part of your signature as well. Once you've put everything in, we're going to scroll down underneath to where we would choose our signature defaults. And this is where you choose how you want that signature to apply. So you've got your options for new emails to choose. I want no signature. I want my class signature I just created, or I want my original signature. You'd put in the signature that you want to show up at the bottom of your email. And then you have the option to put on replying emails, either the same signature, or if you wanted to have a different signature on replies, you could do that as well. You may see sometimes that people respond, that first email that you get from them has their nice official, this is my title, this is my phone number and everything, but later emails don't always have that. They could be choosing not to have a signature on replies, or they could be using a simpler default that's just, thanks or sincerely and their name as that signature. This would be where you would choose that option. But once you have chosen all of your preferences, you're going to scroll down a little bit more to get to the very, very bottom. Click Save Changes. That's going to apply everything that you just did onto your emails. So now when you go to compose, you should see the signature that you created pop up on your emails, assuming that you selected that for new emails. Just like if I have this email open and I reply, I currently don't have anything showing on my reply because I didn't include that option. But that's where your signature is going to pop up on your emails. So hopefully that answered the question as far as creating a signature. The other thing I want to look at is your labels on your emails. So labels are how Gmail lets you organize and manage your emails. They're kind of like folders, but they're also kind of not. So when you have folders in your email, so if you were using, say, Outlook, and you have an email in a folder, I can only put that email into one folder. So if I put it into resumes, it's in resumes, it can't go anywhere else. Labels are different in that I can put multiple labels onto the same email if I want to. So I can tag something for resumes, I can tag it for follow-up, and I can tag it for cover letters, all on the same thing, and get to it through any of those labels. So to be able to do that, underneath this left-hand menu, you see we have labels, a lovely plus sign next to it. Click on the plus sign, and that's what lets me create a new label. And you can name your label anything that you want to. Maybe I want to call that interviews because I have job applications. And this is also where I can choose to nest it under something else. If this is all part of my job search, I can nest it under jobs. Create. Now I have options for job applications and interviews. You can have as many labels as you would like, but once you have done that, you can edit, delete, or change that label through those three dots. We can give it a color. I can say, you know what, I want interviews to show up green. I can also say I want to edit and change the name or where it's located. Or if I didn't need it, I could remove that label altogether. There, delete that out because we don't need it. So once you have created one or more labels, you're able to apply those to the emails in your inbox. So I can click on that email, and at the top, there's this kind of little arrow looking thing. Looks kind of like one of those sticky notes with an arrow that you put when you want somebody to sign things. That's your label button right there. When you click on that, you can choose what label you would like it to have. So I can say, you know what, this is for job applications. And here you'll see I can check more than one option if I need to. And I will hit apply. And that applies that label on there. So you can see I've got that label. If I wanted to go ahead and add it to interviews as well, I could check that box, apply. And then when I go back to my inbox, those labels now show up as part of that email. So if you're color coding, that's where color coding comes in really handy because I can see at a glance, oh, hey, that's a green one. I need to follow up on that because that's interviews. I can also click on the label in the menu, and that will pull up everything from that label as well. I can also apply those labels 2 emails that I'm sending, which is really helpful if you want to track things that you've sent related to interviews or job applications. That label helps you pull that back up and say, okay, that was related to the job search that I'm doing. So when I am writing a new email, make that a little bit bigger. Here I am writing my new email. I've got that more option, that 3 dots at the very bottom pulls up more options. I've got label, and I can apply the label. So say I was emailing someone about an interview. Once I send that with that label applied, it's going to show up in my sent, but it should also then show up as labeled because I labeled it as part of that as well, which why it did not save my label is a great question. Put that label back on. So when I go under my interviews label, I've got both emails and sent mails to be able to pull everything in one spot together related to that job search. So you could do labels based on different companies. If you're in the middle of your interviewing and you're talking to multiple companies at once, those labels can help you pull out things specific to the library, specific to a school, specific to the car dealership down the street. So you can keep everybody's stuff organized and in one place and see who you've talked to about what at a glance. As you continue working on your job search, the last thing you're going to want to do is also keep track of contact information. So in addition to being able to, say, put somebody's contact in your phone, your Gmail is a great way to collect that contact information as well. So over here on my right-hand side, I've got this nice little blue person. That is my contacts menu. When I click on that, it brings up my contacts, and I can just do that, create contact to create a new contact. And it's going to pull up all of this information for me to be able to put in first name, last name, the company, their job title, their email. I can put their phone number in. I can put in an address for them. I could put their birthday in if I need to remember that information. If I do show more, I can add other things. Website, related people, I can put custom fields. You don't have to fill out all of this to save a contact, but you have all of that available as an option. Once you've put that in, that'll let you save the contact. So here I have a lovely recruiter that we've got an email and a phone number for to be able to see at a glance, oh, this is a person. From there, I can easily email them, I can schedule something with them, or I can even do a video call with them all from one spot. So it helps keep all of your information related to your job search together because you've got all that contact information that you need without having to go grab your phone and figure out, oh, who's that person that I talked to? So as you're talking to people about different positions, it's great to go ahead and add them into your contacts so that you can organize all of that information and get back to it at once. All right, so we've gone through Google Drive. We've gone through Google Calendar. The last thing that I want to do tonight is look at very briefly a couple of other Google tools that we do have access to. So the first one here is Google Calendar. And we're just going to do the tiny little preview of Calendar. Google Calendar is your online calendar. It's going to sync with things like Gmail, to be able to collect all of your information. You can put your interviews on here. You can put time to work on job searching. You can put, oh, I need to go do a drug test. I need to go do a skills test. All of that can go onto your calendar so that you have an at-a-glance look of what you're doing every day. We're actually going to do a deep dive into Calendar next week. I'm sorry, week after next, because we do these every other week. And when we get into Calendar, we'll talk about not only how to set up the events and manage your calendar, but how to do things like have your calendar send you an email every day to tell you what you have going on. So you've got that email at a glance to know what's going on. So that will be the next class. And we'll also talk about building some focused work time, and creating to-do lists out of your calendar as well. You also have access to Google Tasks. This is a nice little to-do list app through that blue check mark. And you can add details about things you need to do, assign due dates, or create subtasks related to your job search. So you can do that within your task application, or you can also do it through your Gmail and calendar to be able to say, oh, I need to follow up on this email, put that on my to-do list. I need to talk to this person on this day, put that on my to-do list. And we'll cover that in the next class as well. You also have access to Google Keep, which is this nice little light bulb thing here. And Google Keep is an online note taker. So if you were doing a video conference with someone and you needed to take notes, this is a great spot for you to have it pulled up, be able to take notes and access it quickly as well. You can create, edit, and share those notes, whether they're freeform, lists, or even drawings. And that will save in your notes as well. Yes, sir.
I do have another question for the chat. Contact input is all manual, correct?
Contact input is going to be primarily manual. Yes. Although if you do have an email that you have sent to someone or that you have received, when I hover over this name here, you see I've got the email and you see I've got that little person here. I can click that person to add to contacts. That will add the information to my contacts, and when I edit, I will be able to put in additional information. So really all that pulled for me on this one was the email. So I still need to go in and put the name and additional information, but I can make sure that I grab the email correctly that way so I don't mistype it as I'm putting it in.
That's perfect.
All right, so that does get through what we were hoping to look at tonight as far as Google Drive and Gmail. We do have just a few resources I'd like to share with you as we wrap up tonight, and then I am available for any last minute questions that have popped up or anything that we didn't cover in tonight's class as well. So let me flip this over to a lovely slide here. So we do have a handout that is available for today's program. If you are interested in receiving a copy of that, feel free to put in your email in the chat and I will make sure that that gets emailed to you as part of today's program. I can also print one for you if you would like as well. I neglected to print one before we started tonight, but we do have them. And those give you some step-by-step instructions for the things that we talked about tonight. As a reminder, you can watch this class again on YouTube if you had so much fun the first time that you'd like to see it again, or if you have a friend who was not able to make it to tonight's class, that recording will be available in 2 to 3 days on our YouTube channel that you can pull it up. The same will apply for the rest of the classes in this series. So if you really want to learn about calendar, docs, or sheets, and you cannot make it to one of those classes, do keep in mind that recording will be available and you'll be able to access it as well. So we do have 3 more classes in this series. January 30th, we're going to cover deadlines and tasks with Google Calendar. On February 13th, we're going to get into resume design using Google Docs. And then finally, on February 27th, we're going to get into job search tracking using Google Sheets. And all of those will be hybrid programs. You can join us here in the library or online, whichever works best for your schedule. We also have a couple of other classes coming up that may be useful to your job search. So we do have the Job Resource Connection group that meets here at Harrington Library every other week on Monday nights. These workshops are led by professionals and library staff, and they give you the opportunity to network, to learn new skills, and to find support during your job search process. So if you'd really like to get connected with some other people who are going through job searching, feel free to join us for that. Our next meeting will be on Monday, January 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Yes, sir, was there a question?
Yes, I do have a question. How do we access on YouTube specifics, please? I will miss next week's meeting.
Yes, I will cover that in just a minute. Let me run through the rest of these resources and then we'll hop over to YouTube and I'll show you how to access all of the classes that we have going on. As far as other upcoming classes that we do have the Computer Skills Email Basics class that will be at Schimmelfinning Library on February 3rd at 3 p.m. So if you're just not sure about the finer points of email sending, composing, email etiquette, that's a great class to be able to go into and get some of that information. And if you're looking at wanting to learn more about PDFs, which do come up a lot in job search applications, you can join us for our PDF Basics class that will teach you how to navigate PDFs, edit text, add signatures, and save changes to a PDF for uploading. We're going to be offering that twice this spring on March 9th and April 28th. Both of those are going to be over at Haggard Library. And then finally, we have Create Your Elevator Speech coming up on March 19th at Haggard Library, which is a great opportunity to really work through the details of how to sell yourself in a short period of time to someone who's recruiting in an interview, or even in those small moments where you have 30 seconds where you meet someone and you really want to make that good first impression. That's a great class to be able to find out the best ways to market yourself. Now, all that aside, if you have just a short question that comes out of tonight's class or something else related to your job search, you can use our Ask a Librarian feature to be able to ask that question. It's an online form, fill it out. Somebody will email you the information you need in 24 to 48 hours. But if you're looking for more one-on-one help that you'd like to really get into the specific questions that you have, maybe you need help setting up your signature, maybe you're not quite sure how Gmail works, we do offer one-on-one appointments through our Book a Librarian service. There's going to be 30-minute appointments based on your schedule. You go online and fill out a form, let us know what you need help with and what library you'd like to meet at, including an online option if you'd prefer to do that as well. And someone will respond to set up that appointment with you and really tailor it to your specific needs. You can also access online tutorials through LinkedIn Learning and Udemy, completely free with your library card, which are a great way to practice building those skills and get into some of the more in-depth things than we do in tonight's class. And like I said, those are both completely free with your library card. But going back to YouTube, when I do the Plano Library YouTube, and you can really just Google Plano Library YouTube, top link you should see is going to be our Plano Library YouTube channel. So right now, you can see that job searching with Google should be happening live on YouTube for you right now. You'll see upcoming classes scheduled under our upcoming live streams. So you'll be able to see job searching with Google deadlines and tasks with calendar is already scheduled as upcoming. But once you have gone through and the archive is posted, if you do this little search icon next to community and just do job searching with Google, that will search our YouTube channel. And you will be able to see the full class list. Once that archive exists, you will just click on that video to be able to play the video. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. That LinkedIn Learning and Udemy, how to access that with your library class?
Absolutely. So LinkedIn Learning and Udemy to access free with your library card. There's a couple of different ways that you can get into LinkedIn Learning. I'm going to do the easiest one and go through the library. Oops, which works better if you type all of the letters of the address. So planolibrary.org. This is going to pull up the library website. And when I hover over that library menu, what I'm looking for is Research and Learn. And that's going to bring you to our databases page. And you can go through all databases, but both LinkedIn Learning and Udemy will be linked under Career. And I will just scroll down, and there's going to be a lovely Access Now. Now, for LinkedIn Learning specifically, this is important because you have to go through the library website to get to the free version. So you should see this Get Started. And what you're looking for is for it to pop up and ask for your library card number and your PIN number to sign in. Now, if you have done a search for LinkedIn Learning because you didn't remember how to get to it from the library website, that is okay. You're going to get to a page that looks kind of like this. And it's going to tell you that you need to start your free month or buy for your team. You can still get to the library page if you happen to have ended up here. You'll go under Sign In. And you're going to look for Sign In with your library card. The difference here is you're going to have to type in the library ID, whereas on the library website, it's going to automatically put that in for you. Put in Plano Library, do continue, you're going to get right back to the same screen. If you're not seeing that library card number and PIN number, you haven't made it to the library version and it's going to try and charge you. But once you put in your library card, and PIN number, it's going to pull up that full class menu. You'll be able to search for whatever you'd like to access, whether that's related to your job search or say, I want to learn about Google Drive. I can put in Google Drive and pull up all of that course information and be able to view, and it will save your progress as you log back in with your library card. Udemy is going to be the same thing. You're going to want to go through the library link. So scroll down on that career page to where it says Access Now for Udemy. And it will ask you to create an account if you do not already have one. So you'll do Sign In and Create Account. If you have one, you can sign in. If not, you'll just do Sign Up. And it'll ask you for that information. Now, I will tell you, Udemy has a tendency to be a little bit cranky. Of course, I could forget my password in the middle of this. There we go. So Udemy has a really nasty tendency that once you've signed in, it sometimes will direct you back to the same page that we were already on. And if it does that, let me log back out and let me go back and see if I can get it to do it for me. If it does that you sign in and create an account and you've already signed in, just click that sign in button again, and it should sign you in without making you type your password again. It does it quite often. I don't know why, but you should only have to type in that email and password once. But once you've done that, you can access your learning as well. Same way, I could look for, say, Google Drive and pull up different classes related to Google productivity. And once I click on those, I can see different information, when it was last updated and things that it's going to cover. If I'm interested in it, I'll just click Enroll Now, and that will sign me into that specific class. Do we have any other questions tonight before we? Absolutely, that is what I'm here for.
So in LinkedIn and Udemy, there are a lot of free certifications, right?
Yes.
So does that really add value to your resume? Or it's just that, so many people are taking that, and I just wanted to know whether it really adds value.
Okay, so the question is whether a LinkedIn or Udemy certificate adds value to your resume. And I would say yes. And there's a couple of different ways that it's going to do that. One is it's going to demonstrate your commitment to learning different skills. So you're able to show an employer, I spend time working on developing skills that are important to me and important to you. I've spent time making sure I know how to use this software or develop this skill. So keep in mind, LinkedIn Learning and Udemy both do hard skills, so they can teach you things like how to make a spreadsheet, but they also do soft skills. So you can do a class on conflict mediation. You can do a class on professional communication, and you can show an employer, I'm dedicated to learning more about the things that are going to make me successful for you and make your business successful. You work with people every day. This is what I'm doing to build my people skills. Now, LinkedIn also has the option for you to do some different certifications and share those certificates. It is a slightly complicated process when you go through the library just because of how LinkedIn Learning talks to LinkedIn, but you can go and put those on your profile and show this is the learning that I've done. This is it's continuing education credit. So you can show this continuing education, and LinkedIn Learning does have a lot of learning paths to be able to take you through from one step to the next to do kind of a mini masterclass in communication or in Google Drive or whatever you want to learn. The other thing about Udemy is Udemy often has additional resources attached to those classes. So you'll have exercise files and you're able to take those and either show a specific product that you've created to say, I can apply this skills and make a really cool spreadsheet, and this is how I did it, or this is the work that I've done towards this. So it gives you a tangible piece to say, I'm telling you I have this skill, but I'm also showing you that I have this skill as well. And all of those are things that just make you stand out as a candidate, to be able to say, this is why you should hire me. And that can be especially helpful if you are trying to transition your career and say, my last job or my last title doesn't look exactly like this job I'm applying for, but I'm a perfect person for this. And here's why. Here's everything that I'm bringing to the table that matches that job description. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to pop this back over here. So that is going to wrap up our class for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us both in person and online. I hope to see you for the remaining classes in the session. But if you have any questions outside of the program, feel free to reach out to library staff regarding that class. If you do have specific questions or would like access to the handout, go ahead and drop your email in the chat for that handout. I'll make sure that it gets emailed to you as well. And I'm actually going to hop over to the chat myself and drop my email in the chat for everyone as well. If you do have questions, you are welcome to email me those questions. As you leave the virtual program, a survey is going to pop up asking you how you enjoyed tonight's class. Please do take a moment to fill that out and let us know what you liked, what you didn't, what we could do better. We really do use all of that feedback to continue improving our programs and create content that is valuable to you as well. But with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up tonight's class. Have a wonderful evening.